is hosted by Tony Gapastione. Thanks for tuning in. It's showtime.
What up, everybody? It's showtime. It's episode 230 of the BraveMaker podcast. My name is Tony Gapastione. I am a Caucasian guy with brown hair wearing a very yellow mustardish shirt today with my very yellow glasses in our BraveMaker studio, which has pink letters behind me and a green faux wall with stripes, black and white to my right. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm a writer, a director, and an actor based in Redwood City, California. That's San Francisco Bay. You can find me on all the socials at my name, at Tony Gapastione. And you can also find BraveMaker at BraveMaker.org on all the socials, as well as BraveMaker.org for our website, where all of our classes and our film festival and all sorts of fun stuff are coming up. So make sure you check that out. Today, episode 230, we were supposed to have a special guest, a filmmaker named Jamal Page, who might pop in. I don't fully know. That's the beautiful nature of filmmaking, is we book a guest and all of a sudden they say, oh, we're running long on set, or we had a cool opportunity come on, so we might not be able to show up today and we'll reschedule, and that's okay. But the cool thing is, again, how things work. I have a co-host today. One of our monthly regulars, Belgica Rodriguez, is joining. Awesome, Belgica. Why don't you do your intros? Thanks for being here.
Hi, Tony. My name is Belgica Rodriguez, she, her, and I am an actor, YouTube content creator, and don't tell anybody, but I'm testing out being a producer.
Yes.
And I am a Mexican woman. I have long, layered hair. Behind me, there's a marigold curtain with plants around me and even hanging plants at the top. And I'm sitting on a mid-century modern cream chair with a wooden hand armrests. And you can also find me on socials. Just search my name, Belgica, Belgica.
So Belgica and I were hanging out last night, as she whispered to you all here in episode 230. She is dabbling in the producer role. And so because we had this opportunity, which we were going to talk to Jamal about best practices and fun stuff about being on set, we thought, well, her and I can do that together. So we're going to do this kind of a two-parter. If Jamal comes, it'll throw a wrench in it and we'll change it up. But that's the beautiful thing about producing, is you got to be ready to solve problems and go a different direction. So last night for producing, Belgica and I were doing the short film of the BraveMaker Academy, which is the BraveMaker's acting school where actors put on create a short film. And we had film students and professional filmmakers, DPs and sound recorders and all sorts of things happening. So it got both of us actually excited to kind of talk about what we learned, reflect. We even did a little bit of a huddle last night about what will we do different. You know, we have another day to shoot next week, so let's make it better. And this is a very typical common practice as filmmakers, is going, how can I improve? What did I learn? So I guess let's talk. I mean, anything kind of like high level best practices could be in general and or from last night. Like, what are some things you go, oh, as a producer, and you're also an actor, I'm a director and actor too, what are some things you go, we must always do this, or this really works when it comes to best practices on set?
Yeah, one of the feedbacks that we talked about yesterday was more time with you, more time with the director that, of course, is in charge of all of the creativity and the direction of the film. So in general, like me and other producers, the AD, we all had meetings together, and we each knew a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So we were able to piece it together, but just in the future to be more efficient, something that we said was more time with the director, more time with you to get clarity on things. I also ended up being wardrobe for this film. So again, just getting a better idea of what you would like for the actors to wear, because this time, they brought me options of clothing that we can use that their character would wear. And so basically what I did is just divide it so not everybody was wearing green in the same scene, or not everybody was looking like they were at a parade for Easter or something, So I was just dividing all of that so that they complemented each other rather than clashed. Clashing a little bit was good though for this specific thing, because it is like theater people, like, in a I don't know how much you want to share about the story.
Oh, anything and everything is cool. Yeah.
Okay, so there's, these like accidental siblings. So I was like, ooh, if they're wearing like similar colors or a similar shirt so that they, even their body language was in one of the scenes I thought was really funny because they ended the same. And I was like, oh, yes, that just like tells you the story without, visually without using words. But yeah, just more time with the director, I think is even if we had a pre-production meeting on our own and then brought you in for all of those additional questions so that we only took, let's say, 30 minutes of your time instead of an hour. I found that to be very important for next time.
So what I hear you saying too is communication, and sometimes in making a film, we can never have enough communication. When you're in a place of doing a no budget, micro budget, small budget films, it's like time is so limited. Everyone has other jobs in real life. People are working 9 to 5s, and in these usually low budget things, people are doing multiple jobs on set. Like you're talking about doing wardrobe and producing. And I was joking and texting the team. I was underneath the table on set, like, drilling and making it not squeak.
Yeah.
I was, you have to be able to do these things. I'm picking up craft services. There's a lot of juggling that happens. But if people are doing things in a vacuum and not communicating, that could really present challenges that take time on set. So number one, best practice is just over communicate. Who's doing what?
Yeah.
What questions need to happen? Can we have more FaceTime and understand the director's vision and who's doing what? Which leads me kind of to maybe like my 1B, or maybe this is number 2, but as producers or really anybody on set, hopefully not all the PAs do this, but are you reading the script? Do you know what story is being told? Make sure you know that script when you show up. Even if you are a PA, even if you're doing crafty, sometimes there's cinematographers or sound recorders that really don't know what story they're being told. They're just showing up to do their job. They look at a shot list. Okay, cool. They know the characters. Okay, cool. But they might not know what actor is playing what character. And again, that's all about time and scheduling. People don't have sometimes the ability to do that. It's like they're just showing up on a gig and they're doing the best they can, clocking in. But when and if you can, I think a best practice for every role is to read the script and know the script inside and out, because it will set you apart. It will help you flow a little bit better. And then if you're in sync with the schedule that the assistant director has put out, you go, oh, I know scene 22 is between these characters, or I know we're shooting, day for night, or we're shooting the beginning of the film or the end of the film in this scene. So they should be in certain wardrobe. So knowing the script is a really great thing, an important thing to do. Again, when you're a PA, if you do those things, and your team, your directors and other producers catch wind in a good way that, oh, this person knows, that's a great green flag for them to want to bump you up and give you more responsibility for the future. So read the script, know the script.
If they hear that you're interested in something else, like definitely, especially people like you that likes to give people opportunities. Like I contacted you, can I produce something? And you immediately said, here, you're going to do this. I have a question relating to that, since I am quite new to all of this.
Yeah, by the way, so this is you said your second official film that you're producing, but you said you were doing a bunch of other things, which kind of made you go, I'm kind of good at this. You want to share about that quick before you do your question?
Yeah. So I just always want to be acting, and I do a lot of commercials, but I prefer to do scripted work and things that are just really fun and creative and collaborative. So I had done a few things before where we were just like, okay, you're available on Saturday, you two, oh, you have the script, I can play that. I know somebody, literally a cast and crew of 4 people. And whenever I would see something that wasn't organized, I was like, hey, how about we do it like this, this, and that? Cool. Okay, I'll buy us burritos. You buy the boom stuff, and then we'll have it for a long time, the sound equipment. And so recently I was like, okay, maybe I should see if producing is a good addition to acting. I am definitely seeing that it's a ton of work. So it's going to be like everything else, balancing everything. But yeah, this is my second producing project, and my first one is actually premiering on May 3rd, 2024 at Makla in San Jose. We're having a film event where we're also screening other films, and it's going to be a party. There's a DJ set at the end. It's going to be really fun. But yeah, my question was, as a producer, something that I would love to do if at all possible, so people are familiar with the story, is have a production meeting with the entire team as far as crew. Is that something that's industry standard or something that would look down upon, of maybe getting the story and boom, 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 saying like all of the points, sharing about it, maybe sharing the media kit or the press kit, about everything, the vibe, how the shots are going to look, the mockumentary thing where you're moving the camera around a lot? Would that be something that you think people would be okay with, like a 30-45 minute production meeting?
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. I mean, I think that just goes back to over communication is such a good idea. The more you can communicate about the tone of the film, of what is happening on set, the story you're trying to tell, because you might have heard this phrase before. Sometimes it seems like people are telling different stories when it comes to the film they're working on. I've heard it said a lot about actors sometimes that I won't name names, but like even some of the recent films that were in the Academy, conversation, that, I listen to so many podcasts, but I heard a critic say something like, it seemed like that actor thought they were in a different movie. And again, that's a critique, but there is something to be said about, does everybody know what the vision is? Like, do we know what the target here is? Like, obviously for this film, it's called Infectious Theater. And if you're watching on the replay, you can watch all of our podcasts. If you're listening only, you can watch all of them on our YouTube channel at BraveMaker.org. But we're doing like an Office or an Abbott Elementary or a Parks and Rec. So we wanted everyone to make sure they knew it was a little heightened, a little stylized, a little silly, but yet trying to be grounded, right? But if someone shows up and doesn't know, like even I think the other night there was some questions like, why is this happening? Like, why are they talking to the camera? And I had to explain, oh, well, one of the characters is an influencer, and this is supposed to be her documentary crew. Now, if we had a all crew production meeting, we could have said that, and we could have curved and cut off some of the time that it took to explain things on set, but that's okay. We at BraveMaker, we're a nonprofit. We're doing the best we can. We're trying to make things happen instead of waiting around for them to just fall in our lap. But part of, I think, the consequences of that, boots on the ground, grind and hustle, is things do fall through the crack, because if you were paying people to show up to the meeting, you're darn, tootin', they would, right? Like they would show up to that, all hands on deck, all, what we call like the key leaders, the captains of each department, they would show up because it would be part of their job. And that would be amazing. So I'd love the idea of having a table read where all of the heads of department show up and hear the script. Now, another friend of mine, so I shot like a little test shot, right, and put it out on YouTube, an unlisted thing, some scenes, so people can get a little bit of feel, and people said, oh, that was helpful. I have a friend, Jim Cummings, who he records his whole film himself on a podcast and temp scores it so people can kind of feel, like listen to it and get into the feeling of what that vibe of each scene should be eliciting for them. He has three features out, and he just had a short at South by Southwest. So long response to the question, I think, yes, any way that you can make sure to get everybody on the same page is going to be welcomed. But when you're dealing with, volunteers and no pay, low pay, that can often be challenging to get everybody to those meetings,
Yeah, for sure. But I was just asking that because I was like, how can you almost force basically them to know it, is by, having them in an engaged meeting. And what I was saying is making, like you were saying, the recording or something to give them that flavor, like when you're selling a film, almost of having that press kit and giving them all of that information so they get the vibe of it. But I completely understand, like when an actor thinks they're in one film and they're really in another, because they aren't thinking about what needs to be on set, as set dressing. What are they actually going to wear that day? And they're thinking about, their character and how they're going to act.
Definitely. Yeah. And sometimes you're telling, you're telling people and informing people on set things that you wish they would have known ahead of time. And again, that takes time, and it has to like sink in a little bit. So yeah. Okay. What's another best practice that comes to mind for you for just like, these could be, again, set life best practices and expectations, or something for yourself as a producer or actor?
Okay, so the other thing that I noticed yesterday was specifically like people don't necessarily take care of themselves. So it's good to try and take care of them as much as possible. For example, we did have like a very good spread of crafty. We had like some meat, some Cheez-Its, nuts, like a lot of different things, water, fruit. But sometimes people forget to eat like an entire meal because they're coming from a day job, especially in something like this where there's interns, volunteers, people that are students in acting. They're coming from their day job straight to this. So even if they were gonna stop to get a quick burrito or whatever, but they forgot or they were running late and they really didn't want to be late to set. They wanted to be professional. So I think figuring out a way if we can feed them dinner, and let them know like, hey, like maybe right before you get into your costume, you can eat, or we're going to film this scene. And then right after that, you can go ahead and eat your dinner. We have dinner for you. Just because even if we try our best to take care of ourselves, sometimes we don't,
I have found on set for myself, I sometimes forget to eat because I'm going. I sometimes will even forget to even take a break. Like I don't need a break. I know I can push myself, but that doesn't mean that everybody else shouldn't take a break or sit down or eat too. And so, yeah, I have found a common practice for myself is if I remind everybody else, everybody drink water, everybody hydrate, it is a reminder for myself to do that because you're just going and under the hot lights, it sucks, right? Energy and hydration from you. And so it's like almost like you have to be extra over and above. Think about, getting your electrolytes or having vitamin C, all that stuff, because it just taps you out and you don't really think it is because like you're having fun. And I love this work, right? I don't think about it like that. So yeah, you're totally right. And it makes me also think too about so again, on our, low budgets, we are providing food and we want it to be, something that people aren't like scoffing at. There's so many stories about people talking about, well, everyone just gets pizza because it's cheap from Little Caesars. And sometimes like, hey, that's better than nothing. And at the same time, is that the best thing because it's full of carbohydrates and it like makes you slog down. So it's a really interesting, I think, debacle that we can find ourselves in as filmmakers, just to make sure that we're just taking care of people, like you said.
Yeah.
And I also wonder about like the wasting of things. So sometimes, like I'm looking over there, actually I'm in the studio right now and our craft service table is over there. And I think we took care of all the fresh meat and all of the fresh cheese. It was gone, but I think there was a lot of fruit left over, and I think there was a half a carafe of coffee. But I know there were some people who said, I really need coffee. And again, it's a lot of details. We didn't have a person who did craft services. There were like 3 or 4 of us that brought it. But again, if you had somebody who owned it, you could also maximize your budget by saying, who will drink the coffee? If it's only 3 people, then maybe we should just get 3 separate coffees instead of spending, whatever on a craft. I don't know. Again, that takes time to figure out.
Yeah. And especially if like in future, like I'm talking specifically for this, but really anybody can take this advice. If it's something that's dramatic acting, like very deep emotionally acting, because a lot of this specific story is fun and bright, or they get angry, but to a certain extent. And it's as far as I've seen in the script, it's nothing that hopefully is going to trigger anybody and make them sad. But I know as an actor that I would need a break if we are filming for 6 hours and I have to cry. Like absolutely, I'm going to need a little bit of a breather to just go outside and be like, that is the character. This is me. I'm safe. I'm happy. Melissa or whatever her name is going through this. She's having a terrible time. That's not me. Just because it's like at the end of the day, when I go home, I want to feel happy about my work. And especially, if it's dramatic stuff, I think it is important to check in with the actors like you do that very well, and just make sure that if somebody needs a break, like they're going to feel comfortable to say, you know what, I really need to take like 20 minutes. I know that seems like a lot, but I will come back and be able to do, every take in 2 or 3 takes.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It brings me back to that word about advocating too for yourself. And if you are a director or a producer listening to this, just to advocate for your team, advocate for your actors. And I'm really glad that you brought up about the being aware of triggering scenes, being aware of scenes that maybe include violence or sexual intimacy. That's why we have coordinators for such things, right? And I just announced our next session that starts in April for BraveMaker Academy is going to be intense drama. We're going to be dealing with things about mental health and addiction and adultery and things like that because we've been doing some fun comedic ones. It's time to go into try something else. And I'm going to be bringing in an intimacy coach and bringing in a counselor to talk about how we as creatives can take care of ourselves in those types of situations. So it reminds me too, I'm just going to shout out my friend Lori Burke. I posted this on our BraveMaker social media today. She is a working actor in LA, and she basically lives off of. Do you know Lori? You're shaking your head because she's from Bay Area.
I'm a fan of hers.
Yeah.
Voiceover.
She talked about being on set and really having to go to the bathroom and kind of feeling a little nervous. So like, I don't want to disrupt the schedule, but she said to the director, is it okay if I go pee real quick? And the guy said, you're our talent, our main talent. Yes, we will wait for you. Go take care of yourself. And it's just a reminder, you can take up space. You can ask if you want to try another take. If you didn't like what happened, ask. The answer might be no. It should never be no if you have to go to the bathroom.
Exactly.
But there are things I think as actors we forget. And so I'm speaking now to you actors as yourselves. If you don't feel like anybody's advocating for you, advocate for yourself. If you feel uncomfortable, speak up. If someone is treating you harshly or makeup, I've had people tell me like the makeup artist was kind of badgering them on set, or I've had someone say like the makeup artist was maybe tearing down other people on set, and it felt like that was eroding their headspace. And so the actor might not feel comfortable to say something. So I, as a producer, need to step in and advocate for that actor. So producers, now we're speaking to you, is take care of your set. Make sure nobody is being torn down. I like the phrase, give people the benefit of the doubt. Don't throw anybody under the bus. If you hear something where someone's like, can you believe Tony did that? Can you believe Tony, asked for this to happen, or Tony forgot that? It's really a common human practice for us to jump on that bus and go, what? How dare? What a jerk, blah, blah, blah. Instead of asking some questions, my wife always says, be curious, not furious. It's a kind of child development kid thing, but it's great in marriage and it's great on set. If you feel like you're going to get angry about something, ask some curious questions. Oh, I wonder why. Oh, I'm gonna go find out how that happened, or I really want to know how that ball got dropped before you start putting the blame on other people. As a producer, again, I'm speaking as a producer. Could I have done something different? Belhika and I were just talking off pod about another project we're working on where we're all learning things, and I was telling a fellow filmmaker like, oh, this is what I would have done different. I'm taking ownership for this mishap. Here's what I'll do next time different in the future. So I'm not pointing blame at anybody else. I'm allowing myself to take responsibility and asking questions. Hey, how did this happen? How do you think you could have made it different? Or how do you think you could have handled this communication in a different way? And then it just kind of diffuses the situation. And one of the best things I love about filmmaking is working with people that I trust, that I know have my back, that aren't going to throw me under the bus when I'm not around.
And learning to work with people too, because we all have different strengths and weaknesses. And sometimes things can get frustrating. Like you said, get curious before you get furious. And it's really like learning how to work with each individual and knowing how to problem solve. Like, oh, you know what? Like, for some reason, my brain just is not organized when it comes to all of these details, from like a creator, a writer, director, whatever. And then that's where I can come in as a producer and be like, okay, well, I have these spreadsheets. Like maybe they're going to be helpful. I can send you, where everything, a video of where everything is. That way you don't have to feel bad about asking me every time of like, oh, I'm so sorry, Belgica. I've asked you, how do you find this link 60 times? Can you please show me one more time? And that way they don't even have the anxiety of texting me and asking me. They can click on the link, watch the video, and then they're like, cool, I know exactly how to, problem solve this, but really getting to know creatives and being open to making stuff with people that maybe work a little bit differently than you. That's something that I definitely have tried to learn throughout this short process that I've had so far of producing is I like things a certain way. I'm very organized. I love to be early or on time. And my partner was just telling, I hope they don't mind that I'm sharing this, but my partner was just telling their grandma, like, oh yeah, Belgica's trying out producing because she already likes to be so bossy and in charge of things. They were mistaken because I am the boss. I am not bossy. Yes, I like to be organized. And they were like, yeah, I think they'll be really good at it because of those qualities that they have. So, and I love people.
Good point. How do you know you could be a producer? If you like details, if you like organizing, and if you love people, because there are people who don't necessarily like people, who are really good at being the boss, who might not be the greatest fit for producers. And we all have heard the horror stories of producers who have been harsh and rude, disrespectful, as well as the extreme of aggressive and assaulting and committing crimes upon their talent. So I think we need to get more people who, like you're saying, love this job so much and respect it so deep in their core. And the problem solving and the managing spreadsheets and organizing is an important part of it, but not to the extent where we're sacrificing people, because we're not pawns. I'm a human being as an actor, but then I'm a collaborator. I think the best producers feel like they're a co-creator or co-collaborator in the filmmaking process. And I saw that last night, just to bring it back at the Academy shoot. Everybody was working together and really trying hard. There's a couple things where we're like, we hit a little rough patch for 2 or 3 minutes and we had to relight something. And, we're looking at the time and a funny thing was my watch was fast, and somebody said like, I said, oh, we're at 9:15, and that was on my watch at 9:15. Can I ask people to stay for 30 more minutes? And I was like, thinking that's 9:45 in my mind. But what I discovered later is it was actually 9:05, maybe. I don't know. There was a little bit of like,
I remember because
yeah.
Oh.
There you go. So my watch was fast, and then I had in my mind, didn't I ask till 9:45? So regardless, I think that's a great example for me about communication and expectations and what are you asking of people. And so one thing I'll do different in the future is just be really clear. These sessions really should go till 10 o'clock. And, and that's another thing I'll say is the best practice as a good producer is just aware of time, aware how long things should take. I know we didn't estimate how long some special effects makeup were going to take. We had an actor who had to have fake lip filler, right?
Which looks so good. I was so excited. I kept going to the makeup chair and being like, oh my God, I love your lips.
It's so fun. So Adrian DeSantis got to have lip filler by a student, an emerging makeup artist named Emery, which we were so proud. But yes, communication, expectations, respecting all people's time, all people's efforts, and know that if you're a producer and an actor, film sets can be stressful, but how can you diffuse that? Take a deep breath. Know we're trying to create something, well together. And I'll say one final thing in that vein of don't throw people under the bus. As a producer, you want people to feel safe with their ideas, with their corrections, or with their what I'm trying to say is not like demands, but requests. Like if somebody has a request, like, hey, we really need to honor our time. It's saying those things in ways that are respectful, that don't make people feel small or stupid. So even last night, I had to give a direction to a couple actors, and I thought if I say this out loud, it could make the actor feel a little weird. So I went and whispered it in their ear, just so that they could feel like I'm not saying this in front of everybody, and sometimes in the moment I don't have that. I'm like, hey, can you just do this and not do that? And some actors are like, cool, got it, I can move on. But others, you might need to just take a moment. So you're protecting the space and the vibe. Anything else? Any other best practices that stand out for you?
Well, from a producer's perspective, that I'm still learning, so I'm hesitant to say,
No, you've got 2 things under your belt so far, so why not?
So I keep telling people, maybe in a year you might talk to me again, and I'm like, no, it wasn't for me. I'm testing it out if it'll be a good collaboration with my acting, because acting is for sure number one for me. What I was going to say is that as a producer is I think what I've seen so far is that you have to be in charge of, all of the wheels turning and just being open and willing to share responsibilities. Cause I could very much see how I personally could just say, I'm doing everything because I want it to all be perfect. And it's faster if I just do it. And even my partner gave me this advice of like, you're starting out, make sure you're putting in good habits. Don't just say, oh, I can't find somebody to make a poster, so I'm going to make it. And it's going to take me like 10 hours, really delegating and being open to the team because it is such a team effort. So
that's great.
yeah, I think that's my last thing of just being open to collaboration because it is you really could not do it you could, it'll take you 10 years, you could do it by yourself.
And you will die a lot faster than you should if you are doing it on your own. So collaborate. And I think what comes with that is going back to things we learned as a kid, be curious, not furious, but sharing is caring. That idea of share the load. And yes, it might not get done the way you want it. I think there was one thing last night, if I'm remembering correctly, I said, could you do this? And you're like, on this or that? I'm like, whatever you want. I think it's like, let people choose too. Let people have agency. It might not be done exactly how you want it, but that's the beautiful thing. And here's another example is there were some actors who were like, can I try this line? I was like, okay, it's written like this. If you can give me that and then try yours, great. And a couple actors were like saying, this doesn't feel right. Then I'm like, okay, cool, do it. And I was glad they tried it because it worked better. So as a producer director, I'm like, this is great. This is what the process should feel like. We give and take. And if I'm going to hold on so strongly to my way or to my opinion, it won't be as good as it could be. So let's flow in the river of creativity. It sounds very woo-woo, but All right, good. That could be a lot longer conversation, but it's a great start. So high level best practices, organization, communication, problem solving, respect one another's, read the script, know the story. But the final thing I would say is, support. So producers need to support all of the roles, but especially your job is to protect the director and the actor so they can do their thing. Kind of like, in football, like you're blocking the quarterback so the quarterback can throw, right? Make sure the director and the actors aren't bogged down by stuff that you as a producer can be doing around them. And then the assistant director too, quiet on set. Repeat that multiple times because sometimes the assistant director is saying it once or twice. It doesn't ripple through the set when there's 29 people. It's like everybody needs to be quiet when we say quiet on set. It sounds like a given, but sometimes people think, oh, I'm just whispering over here. And then the sound recorder is like, I can hear you whispering 3 rooms away.
Quiet on set should be like everybody silent on set. Don't walk. Don't, if you need to sneeze, I mean, you can't really help it sometimes, but like nothing. Like pretend you're, I don't know, at church and I don't know. I haven't been to church in a long time, but just completely quiet. No noise.
I like loud churches, but yeah, I get you. Yeah. At a funeral or a wake or something. No,
there you go.
Just be quiet as hell. Okay, good. Quiet on set. All right. So if anybody wants to be a part of our next BraveMaker Academy, we're calling it season 2, episode 2, launches on April 17th, and that's at bravemaker.com/academy. You can find out more information on our website. You'll see Belgica made a video for us about and interviewed me and Amrit, one of our BraveMaker Academy actors, bravemaker.com/academy. It is an acting drama intense session with lots of opportunities to grow on dealing with sensitive topics and triggering situations. So April 17th through May 22nd. Belgica, we have a part 2 because we're still going. It's just you and me still, which is so great. Let's switch gears and talk about the BraveMaker Film Festival because you attended last year. We've been connected ever since. You're co-hosting once a month. You helped us do promotional videos that are coming out soon on our BraveMaker Film Fest Instagram page. But speaking of producing, you texted me, our guest isn't coming today, so here's a topic we can talk about. It was this whole list of things. So you produced the podcast conversation for us. So let's talk about film festival stuff. I'm going to toss it to you.
Yeah. So I saw that they weren't coming and I was like, well, I'm going to put a 5-minute timer because I don't want to, get because I have lots to do. I was like, I'm gonna give it 5 minutes and see what else we can talk about. But I thought, oh, what a great opportunity to learn more about film festivals, especially for like beginner film festival goers. Now that I am dabbling in producing, I have more curiosity around film festivals because as an actor, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go, period. You know, have like buy the ticket, go have fun. But I wanted to know, for people that are creating their maybe first film or third film, whatever, what is the process like of submitting? Like, how do you even know if your film
Mm,
festival is quote unquote film festival worthy, and where do they
mm.
go to submit?
Yeah, so you're asking kind of big philosophical questions that every filmmaker needs to ask of themselves when it comes to their film. Like, what's the goal? Like, why am I making this film? Where do I want it to live? And I think those are really important questions. And this isn't an exhaustive response. I'm sure you ask 10 filmmakers and they might say 10 different things. So this is just my opinion. So one thing I would say is the film festival circuit is a big commitment for a number of reasons. One, it's a financial commitment because to make a film obviously costs you money, but then to submit your film to all the film festivals you want, it can cost you quite a lot of money. So you can determine, like, do I want to submit to the biggies like South by Southwest, like Sundance, like TIFF and Tribeca? If you did to the big kind of national film festivals or Cannes or even the global ones, you could be talking about spending about $500 to $1,000 just in submission fees. And then there are thousands, and BraveMaker is one of them, regional, as we would call them, film festivals or niche film festivals, local, state by state, city by city that you could be submitting. So I would say, first of all, do you want to spend that type of money? And then ask yourself, why is a film festival run important to me?
Yeah.
I would make a lot of cases for why it is important, because you're going to build, and you have said this, you're going to build your community. You're going to meet your audiences. You're going to meet fellow filmmakers. I have so many great friendships. In fact, our mutual friend, Sean McCarthy, and we're friends because we met at Sundance. Both of us not having a film at
Oh,
Sundance.
wow.
We met at Sundance in 2013 and we're friends ever since. And then I got to officiate his wedding. I mean, we have a beautiful connection because of Sundance Film Festival. So there's so many reasons to do a film fest, and you have to count the cost.
Yeah.
The timing is also something you need to consider. When you make a film, man, like I have films that are done, like a couple of films that are done and have been done for months, but I'm submitting them to film festivals and waiting to see if I get in. So I had a film that has been done since October of 2024 that just got into its first film festival here. Sorry, October of 2023. Yeah. So that was Bright Side of Being Barren. October of 2023, it was done and ready to go, but we were submitting it and we just got into our first film festival for April in Pasadena. That's 6 months. So I've been sitting on it for 6 months. Now I've applied to 20 other film festivals. And so I have to tell myself this probably won't be online for everybody to see until January of 2025. So counting the cost to what that looks like is not just money and submissions and travel and lodging and food to all those film festivals, but it's counting the time that it takes to not put it out online, not let people see it. So sometimes you need to see for yourself, should I make a film, just put it on YouTube? Because that's okay too. That's totally fine. I have done that route for some of my films because I'm like, this film was a 5-minute or a 10-minute short, and I really just wanted to do it. I don't want to wait. I want people to see it now, right?
Yeah.
So kind of taking all that into stride, and then everybody needs to know about Film Freeway. 90% of the film festivals are on Film Freeway, as are we. There are a few that are not, like South by Southwest has its totally own portal, which is kind of annoying, to be honest, because it's a lot of extra work. On Film Freeway, this is great for all you new filmmakers. You set up your film profile and you could submit to every and any film festival, like I said, 90% of them out in the world, with one click. It's beautiful. So you can see on our page, filmfreeway.com/BraveMakerFilmFest, our late deadline is coming up April 1st, and our extended deadline is April 30th. And we are going to notify everybody by May 31st, but we probably will do it a little bit before that internally because we're already starting to do some of those plannings now. So lots of things to consider about why you would want to get your film in a film fest. But those connections, the exposure, seeing yourself on the big screen, traveling, oh my gosh, so many great things.
Yeah, and what this is really making me think is that this should be a category in your fundraising or when you're budgeting your project, to have it in there like, okay, if we're going to do the film festival circuit and we really want to go hard, who's going to attend? Producer and director, producer, writer, just the producer, who is it going to be that can really share the story and sell it so that more people will want to come back with money and create more things. So adding a few $1,000s to your budget, to maybe like 10, 20,000 for the submission fees. And like you were saying, flights, hotels, all of that. Because especially like people like me who don't have a current day job, all of my money comes from acting and being in this. So having that in mind already, if we really want to do the film festival circuit, because it is very expensive but also so much fun.
And you can do the research to determine, like, so this is where your producer brain would probably love this, and hopefully someone on your team can do this too, is get a spreadsheet. I've over the years started to accumulate a spreadsheet of what film festivals I want to submit to, which ones I love, which ones were great, which ones were not so great. Part of the reasons why I started BraveMaker was I experienced a lot of not so great ones. And I wanted to create something that people would love, to feel valuable, and offer some really great workshops. But one of the things I'm very aware of is, like, for Pasadena Film Fest, for example, I've been going there since 2015 when they accepted my first short, and I've developed a really great relationship with them, and I love it. Now, I've gotten some reviews there, but there aren't people that are going there that are going to buy the film. There aren't really people that are going there to really be discovered. It's a small regional film festival that is really about community and celebrating the art and the film. And, they have great, fun parties and a really caring programming team. So I love that. But if you go to South by Southwest or Sundance, the odds are more challenging to get involved or get selected. But there, you could actually sell your film. So figure out all those factors. BraveMaker, so far, we do not have distributors that are coming to buy films yet. But do we give out some prize money to some of our filmmakers for pitching their next product? Yep. Are we trying to get... Go ahead.
Last year during the screening of the, the documentary...
Bad Things Happen in Philadelphia.
Yes. Somebody donated a very large amount of money because they were so inspired from the film. So even like, no matter where you go, like I always talk about, I love events anyway. Like my Brave fave is going to be something related with this. And it was funny. It was before I even knew what we were going to talk about. But sometimes when you go to an event, you meet somebody and it isn't until literally 6-7 years later where you can actually get the ball rolling and start working on a project together. So even if you go to quote unquote small festivals, like you really never know who you're going to meet, even if it's like a new best friend or a new collaborator or somebody you're going to collaborate with in many, many years. Like I just saw that I DM'd Sean McCarthy in 2018 when I met him. Hey, nice meeting you at this event. And then hopefully now we're going to start working together. Like we've been in the talks. But it's been like 6 years. So it
takes time. Like and that's real relationships, right? We all know people who've dated 5 times and are married within 3 months. That can happen, but a lot of human relationships take time. So why not collaborative relationships too? That's why I think it is a good reminder for the longevity of our creative careers to have the marathon mentality in mind. If you are rushing and you are pushing things, it might push it over an edge and things could fall apart if you're not patient. That's why too, as producers, sometimes we have multiple projects because we don't know the time span of like adding the funding and the casting and finding all the things that we need. So in the film fest world, it really is beneficial. Again, keep a spreadsheet of all these connections that you make because it's a beautiful thing to invest in it. I met a guy in Sundance this year who edited a feature film there, and I really connected with him at a party. We just Zoomed last week, and he's working on a show for Hulu with like some big names right now. And I was like, this is so cool, man. Like, we didn't know each other 3 months ago. Now we do. And who knows where this will lead. But I'm trying to get him on the podcast, and I'm trying to go, hey, I'm always developing these types of relationships because I want to be mutually beneficial to you too, man. Like I can maybe get you an editing gig for something in the future, and maybe you can get me a directing. Who knows? So keep building into that, and the film festival circuit is a really great way to do so.
Yeah, for sure. I always recommend people too. One of the people that I recommended recently got cast, and I was like, yay! Like I didn't do that, but I was part of it, you know?
Yes.
This person.
Yeah, that's great. You had some questions about what makes a good film or doesn't. Do you want to talk about that in our last remaining minutes?
For sure. I want to know, like specifically because you have the perspective of the BraveMaker Film Festival, how do people watch it? Like, how do they know that this is a good quality film? And if you have any tips, because in screenings that I've been to, I'm like, oof, this would have been a perfect short film if it wasn't for the audio. Out of the story.
Okay, that is a big flag. What do you call it? Like, you know, the red flag, the green flag, the beige flag. I've heard people say something in between, right? I just emailed our team to talk about this as we prepare to make some selections. We're about to kind of cut to the 50% line, then we'll do our quarterfinalists, then we'll make our selections. So, and all of our filmmakers have received this information who have submitted. And if you go on to filmfreeway.com/BraveMaker Film Fest, you'll see a little bit of the information of what we're looking for. So it is important to know when you submit to a film fest, does your film fit it? Okay. So if you have a comedy like we're making right now, if you have a mockumentary comedy, you shouldn't be submitting to Fantasia Fest, which is a genre horror festival, right? You need to know what are they looking for. Sundance is a pretty artsy fartsy film fest. They have a few popcorn commercial films that come out of there for sure, but you should know Past Lives came out of there, right? So look at the films that came out of the festival in the past and see if yours fits in. Do the research and look at what kind of films they're looking for. When it comes to BraveMaker Film Fest, it's in our name, the word brave. We are trying to find brave stories, brave storytellers. We're trying to find people who are marginalized voices that aren't getting the opportunities that they deserve. We're trying to find, and we're very proactive about it. We're trying to find women and people of color and the LGBTQ community, because that's an important part of what it means to be just and diverse in the entertainment industry. And we really believe that's one of our main priorities. One of the reasons why I started it, because I recognize in my own life the blind spots that I had. And if you're watching this live or on the replay, Belhika did a whole YouTube video about how she got cast in multiple projects by attending. So you can check that out. But Belhika nailed it as well. Okay. Film festivals, especially ours, we're looking for high quality films that tell good stories. We are looking, we're not a film festival necessarily that is just going to book your film because we know you. Sometimes I've had to tell my own friends, if the audio could be better, that would be something we would reconsider if you wanted to submit it. But we are looking for high quality productions, and sometimes those elements of our jury, we are looking at 10 different factors, and I'll just rattle off a few. Is it a brave story? Does it have artistic value? Is it diverse in front of the camera and behind the camera? Is the audio good? What's the sound or the music like? How's the pacing? Doesn't mean we don't like a slow burn movie, but if it feels like it's dragging on and it's a 25-minute short film, we can program 3 awesome, fast-paced 5-minute shorts in one block. So timing is an important factor for film festivals. I'm very aware, like a 10-minute short film that I've made, is going to get probably more selections than a 25 or 30-minute short that I am going to be submitting around. So you got to be picky and choosy when you figure that kind of stuff out. And again, not every film is going to be a good fit for every film festival.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And then also thinking about the different categories, because you have, I think the film festival ends with the area shorts. So, keeping that in mind, like, oh, okay, maybe my short film will fit there. Or there was also like a family friendly screening Saturday morning. There was a horror screening. I can't
Yep.
remember when, but those were really fun too.
Yep.
So I definitely see what you're saying of like, where can my film fit within this festival?
And I would not ever discourage a filmmaker for reaching out to a programmer or to a festival director, not asking for things for free. A lot of filmmakers are like, could I get in? Could I get a free waiver? Unfortunately, sometimes I feel so bad, but like, we can't do this film festival without submission, right? They help us rent the venues. And, I'm already like, I got to pay to rent the museum location, which is where we do our industry panel and our pitch festival. I just got the bill today. I'm like, I have no sponsors yet. I have no money in the bank for the film fest. It's wild. So as much as we would like to let everybody submit for free, that's why you have to budget these things out in your filmmaking budget. But please reach out. If you are a filmmaker who goes, yeah, I have a family-friendly film, you should ping our team, myself or Jessica, and say, hey, I submitted. Just want to make sure you check it out. Or I have a horror short that's great. It's not midnight, but we call it like the midnight, we call it the Brave Fave, the late night Brave Fave section, which is horror and kind of like the R-rated or, the unrated shorts and films. Super fun. So great point, Balika, is know where your film could fit and try to advocate for yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Mm-hmm. That's great. Anything else?
Let me see my notes really quick.
While Balika is looking at her notes, make sure you follow our Instagram page at BraveMaker Film Fest, because we are doing announcements there. We have so many fun special guests to announce. I can't do it yet, but there's a couple that I'm kind of super geeking out about that we will have with us July 11th through the 14th. So every year we have VIPs that come from New York or LA that are our mentors and facilitate panels and moderate. It's so cool. We have 3 already confirmed.
Yeah, so I actually think we surprisingly got through like all of the things that I really wanted to. High level, of course, and just like anything else in the industry, I think this is very specific to our perspectives and your perspective. Like you're saying, like, feel free to reach out and make sure we watched it or whatever. There's definitely some festivals where if you contact them, your email is going to get lost in the ether, or they don't
never hear.
DMs, because they get thousands of DMs a day sometimes when you're closer to the festival. So just definitely continuing to do your research on other festivals and how other people like it. Like as an actor, every casting director likes it a little different. And then you give them your flavor and the way they like it, and hopefully they cast you.
Fantastic point, Balika. Thank you so much for being my co-host today. And we did like basically 2 different conversations. It's so good. To Jamal Page, we'll reschedule you. So hope your shoot was amazing. And I will now go into retitling all of the online things, so it represents the fact that this conversation was between you and me. So thank you so much. But it's not over, because you and I get to actually share our Brave Faves for the week.
Brave Faves. TV shows, films, books, songs, technology, clothing, podcast, food, and more. These are a few of our favorite people, places, and things. Brave Faves.
All right. My Brave Fave this week. Oh my gosh. I have been trying to catch up on all of my movie watching, and I finally got to watch Nicolas Cage in Dream Scenario, which is on Max currently. So if you are a Nicolas Cage fan, or Ari Aster, who produced this, I guess he was at one point supposed to direct it. If you like Ari Aster films like Beau is Afraid and Midsommar, you will definitely like Dream Scenario. I really dug it. It's very weird and different and fun, and has a lot to say about social media and fame. And I think if you are listening or watching this, you are someone who loves social media, pop culture, and entertainment. I think you'll be inspired. It is a little weird though, so just be prepared for that. Not quite horror, but slightly a little thriller. Maybe some scenes that'll make you jump. So don't watch them late at night. That's mine. Dream Scenario. What you got, Balika?
For some reason, I completely missed this film. I have never heard about this.
You never heard it? It came out last year. Yeah, it was a kind of a buzzy thing for a couple months. Then, like everything else, there's so much stuff, it might have just zipped away.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, my Brave Fave this week, I had this chosen before I even knew exactly what we were going to talk about, but it's film mixer events, like any kind of film event. I am such an extrovert and I love meeting new creatives. So things like the film festivals where you can really mingle with a lot of people. I really encourage anybody to go to these events, even if you are a bit of an introvert and it maybe doesn't sound like so much fun because you're like, I'm scared, I don't want to go up and talk to strangers. Like there's a lot of really friendly people. And just this past week I went to CineQuest, I went to some VIP lounges, I don't know exactly what they call it, and I talked to a bunch of filmmakers or people just working there. All kinds of people always in these events. Sometimes people are like, I don't know, I just wanted to volunteer and come. So I went to CineQuest that one day, and then I went to Pandora Effects, hosted an open house and a film mixer in Vallejo.
Yay, Margaret.
Yeah, and I like knew everybody except for Margaret on the panel, and I was like, wow. And going to these events, like even if you worked with somebody already, have met them, they connect you again. You get to talk to them face to face and are like, hey, let's schedule a quick 30-minute Zoom and talk, because we haven't worked with each other. And like with Alric, he was one of the DPs in a short film I did in 2021. And I was like, oh my gosh, no wonder your name sounded familiar. We all had masks on, so I forgot like that I had worked with him, but I was like, oh my God, yes. So I think it really rekindles relationships and reminds you why you wanted to work with that person or why you enjoyed working with that person. So my brave fave of the week is just going to events in person and talking to people.
Yes. So good. And if you follow BraveMaker, we're having something every month now. So come and hang out with us. In fact, our next one is going to be on April 13th. It is with a documentary made in the Bay Area called The 50, as well as a short film that was shortlisted for the Oscars called Bienvenidos a Los Angeles. And one of the main actors lives in Redwood City. So we have a twofer on April 13th at 6:30 p.m. So if you're watching live, we'll put the link in the chat so you can come, and then I can even soft launch leak our May mixer, which is happening on Tuesday, May 14th. It's going to be at a restaurant in Redwood City, so stand by for that information, and tickets coming soon, which is what Belhika was just talking about. It'll be drinks and appetizers and hanging out. We're going to be doing those once a quarter now too. Belhika, thank you so much for hanging out and producing last week. Feels like last week. Last night. Oh my gosh. Follow belhika.rodriguez.professional on Insta, and definitely check out her YouTube channel because she is giving out so many cool tips and tricks in the industry. It was so cool. 2 weeks ago, we had a new actor who was checking out our academy as an auditor and kind of got all starry-eyed when she saw Belhika, because she said, I've been following Belhika for years. So super cool. You're doing stuff. You're providing value. You're adding to the conversation in the Bay Area. And I'm really grateful that we're connected and working together and doing stuff. And yeah, more to come. We'll stand by, Belhika, but thank you to our producer of the show, Amy Cohen, who's been hanging out and live chatting, and Jessica Cohen, who takes this episode and cuts it up and puts it on our Instagram channel in little clips, because if you don't want to watch the whole thing, you can watch 90-second clips on our reel. Thank you so much to Parnell Amos, who's awesome, and he edits podcasts full time. So if you need a podcast editor for the audio version, contact Speak Media Services. I really appreciate him. He's in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Our team is all over the country, from Austin, Texas to Grand Rapids, Michigan, where our social media producer, Carrie Alley, is also there. Now, if you know and be listening for our 230 episodes, you know that we are a nonprofit. We still need your help to keep making this amazing stuff happen. Our film festival, our insurance, our rent, our legal fees, all the things that we do as a nonprofit, it's all tax deductible. So you can go to bravemaker.com/donate to become a donor today. I just confirmed we have 43 now. So a new person just joined, 43 monthly donors, which is so cool. Or use your phone and text the word BraveMaker, one word, to 44321. And there are so many people who donate, sometimes $10, $25, $50. One person does 3. It all helps. Okay. Don't ever censor yourself. We need all the help we can get. And we are doing grant writing and all sorts of fun stuff right now to help get our film festival off the ground. So if that's you, please contact me, Tony, at BraveMaker.com, or like I said, on all the socials at Tony Gapastione and BraveMaker.org. All right, my friend Belgica Rodriguez. I love saying your name. Thank you so much for being a part today. I will see you next Wednesday.
Yes.
If not before. All right.
Thank you.
Everybody. You got it. Brave stories change the world.
And you are the story.
Yes.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at BraveMaker.org. Like, subscribe, and share. To become a monthly donor, text the word BraveMaker to 44321 or go to bravemaker.com/donate. Thanks for tuning in.